Fearless Fam. Welcome to another episode where we shed light on topics most like to keep in the dark. This is your host, Chubby, and today's elephant is a level 4. I think that's fair enough. We're going to be talking about the minimum wage in the United States, to be clear. I've been wanting to talk about this episode for the longest time, but it wasn't until I had a conversation with one of my good friends that I was like, you know what? We are going through something right now. The recession is happening. And I was like, you know what? Let me get into it. Let me just give you all some facts, some history, all the good things that we do here on No Filters, No Fears. But before we begin, I hope everybody enjoyed their weekend if it was a long one. And I hope everybody is safe. There's a lot of things going on right now, like a lot of things that I could be talking about, but those things are already getting, light on. So the whole point of this episode or this podcast is to obviously shine light on topics that are not being talked about, things that are important, things that most people might not even be aware of. So yeah, minimum wage. So let's begin the show. So what is minimum wage? The lowest wage permitted by law or by a special agreement such as one with a labor union. So like basically the lowest an employer can pay someone legally, I guess, legally, right? So here's a little history about minimum wage. The national minimum wage was created by the Congress under the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, in 1938. Congress enacted the legislation under its authority in Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution. The Congress shall have power to regulate commerce among the several states. FLSA was a comprehensive federal scheme which provided for minimum wage, overtime pay, record-keeping requirements, and child labor regulations. The purpose of the minimum wage was to stabilize the post-depression economy and protect the workers in the labor force. The minimum wage was designed to create a minimum standard of living to protect the health and well-being of employees. Others have argued that primary purpose was to aid the lowest paid of the nation's working population, those who have lacked sufficient bargaining power to secure for themselves a minimum substance wage. All this information was by lawcordell.edu. So yeah, like I said, I decided to talk about this topic because we often hear people say, and I'm pretty sure we have said it before, get a better job, get a different job, ask for a raise, and things like that, right? And not realizing that it's not that simple. And we all know that it's not. That you can't just go to anybody, to your employer, to anyone and be like, hey, you can. But they could, do a review like they would and be like, no, or not at this moment, we're not able to. Or they come up with some other excuse, or I don't know, give you vacation hours instead of your money you're asking for, right? You never know. So I do want to read the minimum wage from 40 years ago until today. So I'm gonna break it down to you. So for example, in 1938, the Fair Labor Standards Act established it at 25 cents an hour. That's compared to $4.81 in 2001, right? Its purchasing power peaked in 1968 at 1.60, equivalent to $12.47 in 2001. Since 2009, it has been at $7.25 per hour, while everything else is going up. Right, okay. Just making sure we're in the same page on that. But we also must keep in mind that we are indeed in an inflation. I said recession earlier. I meant to say inflation, recession too. Obvious, honestly, I feel. If you haven't noticed it, yes, in 2022 we are going through an inflation from the last one of 2008, which was a recession and all of that thing that happened, and most of us were teenagers when that happened. Um, and it's crazy. Again, I will be giving you more like details on everything breaking down, but it's insane because while our cost of living and food and everything else is going up, the minimum wage is still the same, yet you're probably only working $1 or $2 above that. And in reality, that does not help anybody. So I will be sharing a map from 2018 for renting a 2-bedroom at that time, and how much you need to make in order to afford it. So I'm going to share it here briefly so you guys could look at it. It's insane. See, I don't know if you guys could see that, but for example, in order to live in Florida, for example, it's $21.50 that you need to be earning in order to actually afford where you live, right? And that is working 40 hours, right? So it's 40 hours a week and 52 weeks a year. That is insane. Yeah, just to afford it, a 2-bedroom, that's a rental home, like a minimum, right? We're not even going like for 3 or like anything else. So for example, if you needed to live in Texas, if you want to live in Texas in 2018, you needed to be making $19.32. Well, you could see the map, right? I'll leave it here for you guys to see a little bit of it. And Alaska is $24.80. That is insane. In Hawaii, as we all know, being the most expensive state, or island, to me, it's still an island, is $36.13. Now, if we're going to compare that 2022, this is how much you need to be earning, right? I don't know if you could see that. Right now, we need to be making $26.36 in Florida to make it. So that's literally about $5 extra that went up. And for Alaska is 24, right? And okay, it went down a little bit, right? It went down. It's a map from 2018, right? And in order to live at that time, you needed $21.50, for example, to live in Florida. Now, if we want to compare it, you needed $24 now in Florida. So the difference is not significant, but it's huge. It's still like $5 from 2018 to now. And mind you, again, the living is still like going up, it's rising. So I'm leaving that map there. So I'll share it with you all so you guys can see it. But it's insane. Now I'm going to share a map of where the minimum wage stretches the farthest. So let's see. So here's the map. So if you read at the bottom, it says California is $10.62, right? Times $1.16 equals $12.31. But the minimum wage is actually $14. So now the difference is a $1 plus, right? So meaning you have $1.68 per paycheck or whatever you want to call it in order for you to live in the state. And if you look at Florida, it's a negative $2, right? It's negative $2. In Florida, it's negative $2.07. So you can't even afford to live there. Pennsylvania is negative $3. So that's why everybody's going to be struggling anyway in order to maintain. And mind you, this is not even mentioning not living above your means. Meaning, if you just like go to work, come home, do buy your groceries and not spend extra money that you don't need on things and that, and let's say just the minimum, literally like just buying what you need and that is it, right? You still cannot afford to do that. Hence why most people, for example, in Massachusetts and even California, Texas, actually mostly everywhere, people live in with roommates, with other people, family members, so you could like split all the bills that are big, like groceries, electricity if you pay water, and rent. So you could all live peacefully, I guess, or like feel like you're not struggling, and potentially end up being unhoused because everything else is so high and you're not able to freaking afford anything. So this is why when people say, oh, go get another job, yeah, okay, that's cool. You get another job and you start from zero, whatever their minimum wage is. Let's say 10, 11, wherever you live, right? They might either give you $1 above or just that. So at your other job, you were at 13, 14, which is nothing still, to go back down to this. Or trying to find another job that is equivalent to that. And this goes on to say with people that are in retail stores, that work in the food industry, those places like that as well. But other places, it's just insane to me that anybody, they could think that we could live like that, like we could live at all on this. Anyway, I digress. So I'm going to show you the minimum wage as of 2022. By 2023, some states will be having, they're going to increase their minimum wage. But for now, this is, so Florida's at 11, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. All the yellow ones are at 7.25, as you can tell. The red ones are no state of minimum wage law, even though I will be mentioning this later on, even though they still, the 7.25 still apply to these states, but there is no minimum, meaning they could just pay you whatever. You could literally start at $2, $3, $4 and go from there. And if you're in the food industry, you already know how that works, right? And then the green is greater than the federal minimum wage, meaning whatever their states is, they are a little bit higher than that. So yeah, just I'm leaving this here so you could look at it a little bit. So I'm going to mention the top 50 most expensive states or territories. So you already know Hawaii being number 1, California, then Massachusetts, then New York. Then we have Washington, D.C., we have Washington State, we have New Jersey, we have Colorado, then Maryland, Connecticut, Oregon, Florida, New Hampshire, Virginia, and Rhode Island. I love Rhode Island, by the way. Woo. Yeah, so that was the increasing. Like, we knew Hawaii was expensive. If you're gonna go there to visit or to, travel, whatever, keep that in mind, that it is expensive to just, even the ticket itself is just expensive. President Biden proposed raising the federal wage to $15 an hour as part of his $1.9 trillion stimulus plan. But as I mentioned before, the federal minimum wage has been at $7.25 since 2009. That was 13 years ago. That was the longest, that has been the longest minimum wage that it has remained stagnant. That's crazy. It needs to change, which will, but it will. So in 2023, these 12 following states, starting on January 1st, will increase their minimum wage. This gives us hope, right? Michigan will go from 9.87 to 10.10. Nevada will go from 10.50 to 11.25. Delaware from 10.50 to 11.75. Florida from 11 to 12. Missouri 11.15 to 12. New Mexico 11.50 to 12. Virginia, 11 to 12, Illinois, 12 to 13, Rhode Island, 1225 to 13, Maryland, 1250 to 1325, New Jersey, 13 to 14, and Connecticut, from 14 to 15. Not significant races, but it's a start, right? Hopefully, everything else doesn't go higher. But the way that I see this is that, yes, the minimum wage is increasing. You might get a raise at your job. Great. Then your rent goes higher. So basically, you're literally back at square one, because the raise that you got is basically the money's going back to your rent. And I'm mentioning rent because rent right now is the highest thing going on, that it keeps being so high that you'll see yourself paying $2,500 for a 2-in-1 in an area that is not even worth it. Like, I'm pretty sure when you look at a place to live, you look at the area, the quality of the place, of the apartment, of the house, or how close the schools are, like what does the city have to offer, like all these things, like how far is it from your job or whatever, right? And you're not going to tell me that you're willing to pay this much in exchange for safety, quality, all of that. No, of course not. We're not going to do that. But I just feel like it's crazy that you're getting a raise and you're like, yes, whatever. And then a month later, your landlord tells you that they have to raise your rent about $1,000, 500, 400, 300, whatever the case is. So you're basically, again, like I stated, the same. You have not moved from there. I hope that with all this information, I know it was quick and a lot of information in the episode, but I hope that you realize that not everybody can just go and get another job, or can say, or can quit, or can just, again, ask for a raise. It's not that simple. There's a lot of things that encompasses living, a good life. And it depends on what you want to do with your life. If you're a freelance, independent artist, or whatever the case is, what job you do, depending on where you are in your life, certain things just don't come that easy. And we have to see the economy and how we are living right now. There's an inflation. You all remember the gas prices. That was insane. And the food, and then there's food scarcity, especially with the hurricanes and everything that was going on. We understand that it will be hard for the jobs itself to give a raise or to make sure, but it's up to the state to make sure that those jobs are able to afford to give a raise to their employees. Because as we know, if they give a raise, they need to price their food higher, whatever they're selling. Other than that, where are they going to get that money from, right? It's just a domino effect. And if it starts with the state helping everybody and trying to get us, the working class, to a better position and to be able to live a life of quality, without having to compromise safety, without having to compromise a location that we want to live in, right? That's another thing, especially if you have kids. You want to make sure you're raising them in a proper environment, or in a safe environment. But everything goes down to what kind of job you're doing, what kind of job you want, what kind of job it's going to last, obviously, because some jobs easily can be done, and there you go, you have to start all over again. But I hope you do pause on these maps, check them out, and learn what state you live in, and learn about their laws, learn about certain things that will affect you, because this minimum wage will affect everybody. And some people, obviously, as we heard, they were against the 15 minimum wage in most states. Like, yeah, I get it. You don't want workers at McDonald's or anywhere to be making $15 an hour. But we all could say that about any job. Why are you getting this? Why are you getting that? I feel like if we come together as a country, as a union, as a people to help each other, live, that will be, good, instead of being like bashing on each other because you feel like they don't deserve their 15. But at the end of the day, if you do eat there, what are your qualms about that? You get it? um as you already noticed, that I posted two fundraisers that I'm doing. Love 146, right? It's one of my personal ones that I'm doing. It's to end child trafficking. It's important to me, obviously, because no child needs to live a life like that. They all deserve to be kids, enjoy their life, and have a childlike life. Um, but yeah, that's one of the fundraisers that I hope you check out on our page on Instagram, and donate $1, $2, $3. Anything will help, and hopefully, we get to end child trafficking. Hopefully, in our lifetime, right? But I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been patient with this episode. To everybody that is watching it right now and hearing me ramble about all the things, I just want to say thank you. And remember to check out our page at nofiltersnofearstudios.com. We have new merch. We have an awesome shirt. It's in black and I love it. Thank you to Luna.art's design for making it. Great quality work. And thank you to everyone again that has been watching and staying with me until now, episode 18 of the new year. And 2023 is coming, so No Filters, No Fears will be making 3 full years ongoing, and very excited about that. And I just hope to see you all staying tuned into next year. Thank you everyone for watching. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you have any hey Truby, any updates on what I just shared, and then anything that's changed, you already know what to do. Just send me a message and I'll be more likely to, reply. And like I always say, stay fearless, everyone.